My name is Lynn Kemmer, and I'm the Kern County Library County Coordinator for the One Book Project. And we've been the lead organization on this project since about 2003. And we're very excited to host the veteran speakers today and support their journey, as well as be able to hold the space to hear their stories and learn about their organizations and their programs for disabled and other veterans as part of the 2023 One Book Project. This year, the One Book title is Sitting Pretty, The View from My Ordinary Resilient Disabled Body by Rebecca Taussig. And the themes we're exploring include ableism, inclusion, access and accessibility, as well as independence and interdependence. The One Book Project takes place between September and November and provides programming for all ages in 22 public libraries throughout Kern County. This year, Kern County Libraries partnered with city, county, district, and nonprofit organizations to produce presentations, demonstrations, panel discussions, book discussions, film screenings, resource fairs, story times, and craft activities for community members on and off-site free of charge. The read and the programming is meant to bring community members together to deepen understanding of what it means to live life with a disability and to raise awareness about complex life experiences. Kern County Library is honored to be able to help lift up the voices of veterans and to continue to provide equitable access to living, learning, and libraries in Kern County. Tonight, we have the great pleasure of partnering with the Wounded Heroes Fund, Department of Veteran Affairs Vet Center, and their mobile vet unit, which is parked out front. Go check it out, it's brand new. They're gonna be traveling around and helping vets all throughout Kern County, off-site. Honor Flight Kern County and Portrait of a Warrior Gallery, who have provided these beautiful portraits of veterans that have given their lives to serve our country and to remind us that freedom isn't free. Our guest speakers today include Casey Schaubschlager, Director of Programs and Outreach for the Wounded Heroes Fund, who will be talking about their Regimen Ruck and Stable Forces Equine programs, and Ben Rodriguez with Department of Veterans Affairs Vet Center. And unfortunately, Chad Garcia with Comrades and Canopies canceled his appearance, so we are very thankful that Portrait of a Warrior Gallery and Honor Flight will be sharing a little bit about their organizations and the veterans that they serve in Kern County. So thank you very much. Casey, who will be our first speaker tonight, served in the United States Marine Corps from 2002 to 2006 during OIF 1 and OIF 2. Casey retired in 2006 and struggled to readjust to civilian life. He met Wendy Porter in 2009 and began his military transition with the Wounded Heroes Fund. Casey volunteered and eventually joined the board of directors and later became the Director of Programs and Outreach, which he enjoys today. Without further ado, please welcome Casey Schaubschlager.
Hi, thank you. As mentioned, my name is Casey Schaubschlager. I was born and raised here in Bakersfield, but was raised in a rural area outside of Bakersfield, in a little place called Twin Oaks, California, about an hour and a half northeast of here, where Jesus lost his sandal, we like to say. So upon my exiting from the Marine Corps, which out of the 4 years I spent 3, I had the first 2 years of my life in the Marines. I was gifted with serving under the NSA with the Marine Corps and doing operations before the invasion of Iraq, and then doing operations during the invasion of Iraq. I've been on three ships in the submarine, just doing typical duties, help support me any way we can. And over the course of 14 years of doing that, I came home for 3 months. And I got acquainted with my infantry unit, and at the end of 3 months, I redeployed with my infantry unit, primarily as a gunner, using belt-fed or crewman weapon systems. and I was employed in Ramadi, Iraq between the years of 2004 and 2005. Towards the end of 2005 is when I sustained the brunt of my injuries, where my vehicle, after a raid, my vehicle ran over a very large explosive. If anybody knows the equation, it's three 155 millimeter artillery shells that were taped together. And someone with very good hand-eye coordination lit it off underneath our vehicle, and that sustained the brunt of my injuries. Coming to the base aid station, we're so close to going home, I decided to stay with my crew, because if I was to go to Germany at that time, I can only have one family member 6 months at a time come to Germany and visit. But I had to stay there to recover for 2 years. So I came home with my crew. I was at Camp Penn and at the Naval Hospital, where I recovered for the remainder of my enlistment for about a year and a half almost. There I went through speech pathology, speech therapy, traumatic brain injury, which they didn't know at that time what TBI was. It was relatively a newer thing, which I eventually got called back for after my time in service. But doing a lot of seizure type testing, I have a severe hearing loss, a lot of nerve damage. I just went on my last hip surgery, which was last September, which you're still working on some internal injuries as well. So it's an ongoing process. After being medically retired out of Balboa Naval Hospital, the quote was, "The VA will take care of you." And it's been okay. It's been somewhat of a great experience. And I have no quarrels with the VA, and they've done everything they can. It was just a time to where folks didn't really know a lot about internal injuries. And I got a couple letters in the mail saying, "Hey, we understand you have this in our records. Would you like to be our guinea pig?" So I did, and I feel that a couple of years of going back to the VA and doing a lot of testing for traumatic brain injury and seizure type things really gave me some answers, but also helped pave the way to understand what TBI was and how it affects folks differently. So I really contribute to the VA for that, and now looking back, proud of myself on it. Upon my exit, I had a really tough transition. Everything from being in jail for a short stint to swimming at the bottom of a whiskey bottle, hating life, hating society in general. And at one point, one of my Marine brothers said, "Hey, let's just try to go to a Veterans Day parade." So I said, "Okay, I'll entertain the idea." So we went. We were there for about 5 minutes. I said, "I can't take this. Let's just go into the woods and go camping and get away from everybody." And as we were exiting, I met this gal on the sidewalk, and I was on 2 canes at the time, trying to walk, and this gal goes, "You know what, I think we can help you. I have a small nonprofit that helps veterans transition from military to civilian life." And my answer was, "F you." And it turned out to be now my future boss. But she didn't quit, right? We went and I did my thing with my pals, and I came back, I decompressed, we cried a little, we laughed a little, we shot deadly pine cones with 22s. But coming back and regenerating, I asked multiple agencies, both in the county and outside the county nationally, for help. A lot of it fell on just false promises. And Wounded Heroes proved to keep coming at my door and keep showing me that they were here to help, so I eventually gave in. Sorry. And at one point, through conversation, we knew I was back over on my new home I bought for 2 months. I didn't have a job. I was almost out of groceries. I didn't know what I was going to do to provide for my family. And they had me a job, which I started that following Monday. They had a check for me to pay my mortgage off for 2 months, and they gave me about a month's worth of groceries. So I thought, hey, if they can show me and turn me around, maybe we can do that for other veterans. So really kind of did a 180. I started asking how to volunteer. Back then, 13 years ago, it was smaller than it was now. Provided a lot of financial grants for folks. We did some remodeling, rebuilding homes. Provided a lot of community service things for veterans and their families to attend. And eventually became a board member for some years, still trying to make my way through life. Being a volunteer board member takes a lot as well. And after going through more years of my transition, Wendy finally came out to the job I was at, actually. And I was hating life, pushing the little girl. And she goes, "You want a job?" And I go, "Yes, please." I had just had my BA, my BS at that time. I was like, I got to do something where I can put my knowledge to great use. And she made me the director of programs and outreach. And I started there 8 years ago and been loving it ever since. And trying to do what we can when we can for veterans in our community and our families. You know, sometimes like currently we got to roll with the tide. We got to roll with what's going on and change some things. And that's what happens, it's life. So we partner with MARE, which is an equine therapeutic station on the west side of Bakersfield. We had a Navy veteran who is now passed. That was a good friend of mine, and he helped create Stable Forces with MARE. And I did 3.5 years with Stable Forces out there, learning how to control my TBI, how to build my core, how to decompress before I had to go back to work. And it's amazing, I get there angry and I leave just with a big smile on my face. We continued the financial grant program, which we brought back currently after some hard times. We had Outward Bound, now I have Regiment Ruck program, where I take veterans out with another instructor from 3 to 7 days in the wilderness, disconnect from everything. And we teach them skills that they thought they had or didn't know, or skills that they knew that they didn't have. We overcome a lot of mental and physical obstacles. We basically take them out of their comfort zone and put them in an environment where they struggle. And we've had everything from 15-degree weather and whiteout conditions to severe heat, to climbing peaks at 11,000 feet, to fording rivers, everything. It brings back that camaraderie. It brings back that struggle of that team. Saying that we're going to go up here from down here in a matter of days, and folks carrying very heavy backpacks and relying on each other. That was a huge thing. So it's something we continue to grow and do. Let's see, Mayor Regiment Ruck. Our biggest need and necessity right now is food. So what we found is post-COVID is in our current economy, a lot of folks are struggling with keeping food for their families. What we created after post-COVID was emergency food kits that we work with CVF as well, California Veterans Assistance Foundation, which they help with at-risk or homeless veterans. And we provide food kits in a bag that they can carry that doesn't require heating or tools or anything. It's all pop-top. And there's proteins, there's fruits, there's sauces, there's things in there that can get them sustainable. And also, for families, we provide a full food pyramid. So fresh milk, fresh chicken, meat, goods, things that would healthy, not like sugars and candy cereals and things. Something that we can get that family by for a month or so to help ease with the financial instability of our times. So that's been really, the last 2 years, that's been a huge brunt of our office right now. And bringing back the grant program. A lot of folks are having trouble with bills and needing new washer and dryer and things of that nature. So we're trying to do what we can when we can with that. Currently, we have a small handful of staff. So no one, we can say we have a job or have a title, but everybody really helps each other, especially, if we have kids. I'm currently going through a master's. So it's veteran on veteran helping each other, but we're also helping each other within the inner office of trying to accomplish the mission. And coming out of post-COVID, we're starting to realize that, hey, Kern County has a great need and has a great volume of need that we're trying to facilitate and do those handshake organizations to help us out as well. So that's currently where we're at, and I think, does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
You used to have a service dog program. That's no longer happening? And is there any chance that there could be some grant writing and it could be revived, or are there other organizations that?
That's something that we've been pondering and trying to work with. Our service dog program with both the trainers have been a very popular program and very promising. Unfortunately, one moved out of state, took the program with them. The other individual moved on as well. And it's kind of filling that need and necessity and want. and whether or not we're going to bring it back. Kind of the juice is worth the squeeze. So what a lot of folks don't understand is we don't have grants or money through state or federal funding. All of our programs and everything that we do for veterans and families is all by the donations of the people of Kern County. That's solely what we rely on. One of the big factors of that is because if we get a state or federal grant, they give you stipulations and red tape to follow. But we know that veterans and families' problems or situations don't follow these guidelines. So we want to make sure that we're doing the best with donors' money the best way we know how and capable of. We don't want to follow a red tape line. We don't want to say, oh, sorry, we don't do that and turn a family away or a veteran away. What we want to say is, you know what, I think we can move a few things and we can help accommodate this. So one, to answer your question long or short, is it's a possibility. Whether that right timing and that right time of frame, funding is another one. Seeing what the need versus want is currently, especially with our economic times being the way they are right now. That's what we're trying to facilitate. But there is potential room in the future for that. And that's really up to the board. That's above my head. When I get a program or we create a program or get a program, I'm like, okay, so how do we facilitate the need? How do we structure it? How do we schedule it? Who do we partner with to make these things happen? So that's kind of like my realm of things. And if someone needs help in the bathroom, I'm in there too, by the way. So yeah, like I said, we all kind of help each other do everything. But very good question. Yes.
How do people donate?
People can donate by simply going into our office. They can call our number. They can email us, or I think on the website here, there is a donate button if you look on your top left-hand corner.
Okay.
And they can do it virtually as well. I personally like folks coming into the office to donate. That way they can see our facility. So our facility was built in a manner to where it's supposed to be a community center, not just an office. So we have a nice lounge, we have a washer and dryer, we have a shower next door. Because we've had a lot of at-risk or considered homeless come. So we give them food bags, they get internet for a minute. We find out their situation, how they became this way, how we can possibly help. A lot of transits just passing through. So we wash their clothes. We find out their situation, we give them food. I like to cook, so sometimes I'll cook in the kitchen, which is great. We've done health classes in there, and we're bringing that back too. So yeah, I like to bring folks in and see what we're doing. See our multi-purpose room is just full of canned goods, and we got a canned good and blanket drive going on right now. And just show folks like it's not just an office for us to operate. It's a place where folks can come and just decompress or use our facilities, or if they want to talk or have a cup of coffee. We also do that once a month too, coffee and donuts with veterans. It used to be coffee and donuts with Honor Flight, but it just became all veterans. And what we like is just to bridge that gap, have younger veterans and older veterans. Sometimes we play dominoes, sometimes we make biscuits and gravy. You don't know. So it's just kind of come on in, let's have some coffee and hang out and chew the fat. So, yeah.
I have another question. I'm
Yes,
so
ma'am.
sorry. How many times a year do you do the Regiment Rock adventures, trips?
Typically, I shoot for 5. We all know how that
5 a
goes,
year.
right? We have a plan. Plan never goes out. I usually get in about 3 a year. What I've been finding is, and now that I'm back in school, a lot of our veterans are either jobs, family, single parents, or school. So I have to work around school, semesters, programs and things, which is the benefit because during those times it's kind of the best time of year to get away. Unless there's massive fire or there's massive flooding, which our last one we just came out of flooding. That was a grueling trip, loved it. But I try to shoot for 3, and that's typically anywhere between August to January is about the time frame. January and February, sometimes March, I am for. And it's everything from our backyard, like Golden Trout Wilderness, to Death Valley, which has been amazing. Joshua Tree, the Minarets up north, Ansel Adams Wilderness, Dickey Lakes Wilderness, all up there. So, yeah. Anybody else? Great, I think I'm over my 15 minutes.
That's okay.
I'd like to invite, is Betty up?
Yes, and I will
Perfect.
introduce. Thank you. Big round of applause for Kate. And you guys
start singing Welcome to Our World. So what we are attempting to do here is provide live transcription services. And our workaround was to log into a Microsoft Teams meeting, which then types everything the speaker is saying. So as you can see here on the bottom of the screen, when you're working with the disabled community, it was difficult to get live transcription services. A lot of people will do transcription services, but not live on site, and be able to connect to the presentation system where they're typing what the person's saying. And there are services out there, but this is our workaround. So it is typing everything that I say here, so thank you for your patience. Our next speaker is Ben Rodriguez, outreach representative at Department of Veterans Affairs Vet Center and their mobile vet center unit, parked outside. Please make sure you check it out. I just want to add quickly that Ben has been volunteering here at Beale Memorial Library doing outreach the first Wednesday of the month from noon to 4. He comes in and will be in our Veterans Connect area, which is on the first floor of Beale Memorial Library. We wrote a grant a few years ago to become a Veterans Connect library through the California State Library, and that grant allowed us to purchase materials for veterans and provide access to a brain fuse tool, which is an online database that provides unemployment benefit assistance, kind of generic, also job seeking assistance and educational assistance and online tutoring, so, and mental health services as well. There's a wide range of services through that tool, and we also updated the local resources, so you can actually tap into the local resources through that database, which is freely available with a library card on the Kern County Library website via the online resources link, and the tool is called Brain Fuse, provided by the California State Library. Now more about Ben. Ben served in the United States Army and served as an infantry team leader with a tour to Iraq in 2003-2004. Ben has been working with veterans since 2007 and now works at Vet Center to provide counseling services for disabled and other vets who want to talk about their experiences in the military or who want to get connected to mental health services in Kern County or other benefits and services offered through Department of Veteran Affairs. So without further ado, please welcome Ben.
Thank you, everybody. It's truly an honor and a pleasure for me to be here today. Like Lynn was saying, I love the library. I've been coming here for quite a while, and it's kind of nice to be able to see the veterans when they come in, veterans and families. It's a really nice opportunity to touch base with folks out in the community, so that really means a lot. And it kind of mirrors what I do for the Veterans Affairs and the Vet Center. I'll talk about that here just in a couple of minutes, but as far as, like my background, my military background, just like any kid that joins the military, sometimes, we graduate high school and we just start working. I wasn't a school kid. I never really thought about going to college or anything like that. I figured I'll just get to work and be a truck driver like my dad. And I did that for a minute. I never got my commercial driver's license, but I was working on the docks and using forklifts and doing all this work, and it was really good work. But this was 1998. This is actually, I joined late in the military, but I graduated in 93, but this is around 98 time frame. And I'm like, man, I'm kind of making some choices here. I can be on the road driving trucks, or I can kind of just, this sense of seeking adventure really just kind of grabbed a hold of me. And this was prior to 9/11, so there was no 9/11 yet. It was peacetime. Granted, we had some altercations in Somalia in 1993, and so when I joined the military, I joined the infantry, because they said, hey, I went to the recruiter, and they're like, hey, do you like blowing things up and shooting guns? I'm like, well, I've never done that in my life, but yes, it sounds like a lot of fun. And so that's how they got me. And so I joined up, went over to I forgot where I served. I went to basic over in Georgia, and as soon as I got there, you know, the air was pretty thick with what happened in Somalia a couple of years prior. So I was like, oh my Lord, I'm actually in the military. You know, it's kind of a weird deal. He's like, yeah, I'm going to join the military. And when you get there, you're like, okay, I'm actually in the military. This is the real deal, right? And so my first tour, I went over to South Korea for a year, newly married, you know, prior to joining the military. And so my brand new wife didn't like that too much. And I was like, I didn't know I was going to Korea. My recruiter told me I was going to Washington State. So they lied to me in the beginning. So kind of started off on a rough patch, but fast forward a couple of years, I make the rank of E5, which is a sergeant. So I'm kind of in charge of a couple of people here and there in the infantry. We do a lot of really nice training and everything, but as soon as 9/11 comes around, that's kind of when it kind of sets in. Like all the training that you do and all the experiences that you have, they kind of come together in one tragic moment that kind of brought the whole country together. And so I deployed to Iraq actually in 2004. I was stop loss. My time was coming up. My enlistment was coming up in the Army, and they gave us 2 weekends to ship our household goods home, and you're going home. And so there was one Saturday, and then there was a following Saturday. So I said, well, I'm probably never going to see my buddies again. I'll never see these guys again. I'm going to wait until the second Saturday. I'm going to go have one last hoorah with my friends. We're going to go out and hit the bars and have a good time on that first Saturday. So come Monday morning formation, they said, okay, men, if you sent your stuff home on this Saturday, you're going home. If you didn't, you're going to Iraq. And we're like, what? How is that even legal? How's that? So that's how I ended up overseas, just because I decided to go have a good time with my buddies, and that's what happened. So I get overseas, we do great, wonderful things, and we see, you know, the real deal. You know, I can get into the nitty-gritty if you want, but it's a life-changing experience to be in that type of environment, to see the things that we saw, and just to be there when history is being made. Obviously, it's a war, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. You know, I was, you know, fortunately, and I'm very, very extremely lucky not to have been wounded. A bunch of close calls, you know, that come along with that type of job. But I get out of the military in 2005, and all I wanted to do was come home, just like everybody else when you're deployed. You just want to come home, be with your family, and pick your life back up, you know, wherever you're going. And so, you know, exiting out of the military, coming back home, I realized that, you know, it wasn't just, okay, I'm just going to hang up my uniform and just jump back into the civilian world and reintegrate and act like everything's okay. And that was so far from the truth. So, looking for a job, trying to reconnect with my family, trying to reconnect with my friends, everything changed. It's as if I was gone for 100 years when I came back home, even though I was only gone for about 8 years. So come back home and everything has changed. And so it's like, wow, how do you put all that together? Like, how do you just jump back onto that moving train? And I was like, that's what you feel like. You know, everything's slow motion almost. And so this is what kind of led me into the work that I do now. So I found this wonderful lady, and I always remember her. Her name was T. Johnson. She worked for the Employment Development Department. And I went in looking for a job. I had no skills. I was in the infantry. I had other types of skills, but not regular skills that you need to get a normal job. And I didn't know how to do anything, right? So she took me under her wing, and she worked with me every day for months, showed me how to interview, gave me clothes to interview in, and all this stuff. And I built up this little portfolio of stuff that I could do, this entry-level stuff. And then one day, a job posting came up on the Kern County website, and they were looking for a Veterans Service representative. And I'm like, I'm a vet. I read the job description, to help vets obtain VA benefits. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And at the time, this was in 2007, I went and interviewed for the job about 3 times. And I was scared to death. I had never done an interview. I spent most of my 20s in the military. I had a job before, did all of my 20s in the military, got out at I was like 30 years old, and I just had no experience whatsoever. I was like, how is someone even supposed to operate or live in this type of environment? And thankfully, the EED folks got me squared away. And then my friends, or my mentors, who I would eventually call my friends, when I applied for County of Kern Veterans Service Department, they walked me through the process. I mean, they grilled me pretty good. They wanted to find out who I was and what I was about. And what was interesting about it is all the senior guys at the time, they were all Vietnam veterans. And I just really wasn't kind of putting it together. I was like, okay, I'm a vet, and these guys are Vietnam veterans. And so they kind of took me under their wing and just showed me the way of what it's like to be a veteran, what it means to be a veteran. Because I'm just here, I am some 30-year-old kid, and just, okay, yeah, I'm good to go. I don't need nothing. But these guys really just said, hey, Ben, I mean, you really got to take some time for yourself, kind of let it set in and talk to the right people. And so for a number of years, I worked over at Kern County Veterans Service, filing claims for veterans, helping folks get their benefits, helping families get their benefits, dependents. And then I did that for about 8 years, and I enjoyed it. I loved every minute of it, and we got to have some really good conversations with folks. And then something else started within me. There was a different type of calling, and I wanted to help veterans in a different type of way. And I wanted to have deeper conversations with veterans and just really help them where it really counts. And that's what led me into switching over to the vet center side, to the federal side. And so now, as the Veterans Outreach Program Specialist for the vet center, I can sit here and say I probably have one of the coolest jobs in the federal government. My job literally is to be out on the streets and meet veterans out in the community. Veterans, families, stakeholders, concerned citizens. So that's what I do. That's my specific role at the vet center. If we get a veteran that comes into the vet center and they're looking, let me back up a little bit. So I work for the vet center now, and we specialize in mental health counseling for veterans. That's our main scope. There's a couple of qualifications and stuff that you can see up on the board there, but we cast a very wide safety net. We like to look at it as ourselves as a rally point for veterans. We throw up the flag, we let folks know who we are, and they come into the office, and I get to have that conversation with them. Sometimes we get veterans that are specifically looking for mental health counseling, and those are good. Those are good clients. We get some folks, and the conversation is pretty easy because they're already looking for the service. They know they want the service. But oftentimes we get veterans that are just unsure about mental health. They've never been through mental health. They don't know what it is. There's a big mystery behind it sometimes. And so it's my job to explain to them, hey, this is just a conversation we're having. I'm going to find you. You're going to tell me what you need. We're going to go back and forth and find you the help that you're looking for. I'm not a counselor over at the vet center, so the conversations I have with these veterans, very informal. It's just like you're talking to a buddy, like a military battle buddy. And so that's what makes my job unique. So they come in and we have just a basic conversation, and then when they decide that, hey, I'm going to take this up to the next level, I'm going to go ahead and apply for counseling. It's just a seamless transition. It's like they come in, we break down that barrier, and make them feel as welcome as humanly possible. And then they transition seamlessly into counseling. So that's my job. And then, as you can see out front, the mobile vet center, I get to take that mobile vet center, I get to go out into the community. I'll set up shop anywhere where they will let me. I've done many events with Casey. We'll partner up, our organizations will partner up out in the community. We'll set up our tables, and veterans and family members and just citizens will come through. We get to talk about what we do. And that's pretty much it. We cast that. I want to just let you know that we cast a very wide safety net. We don't turn anyone away. We're in the business of bringing veterans into the vet center and folding them into the mix of veterans services and organizations, resources. Counseling is the bulk of what we do. That's our core mission. But we also do groups for veterans. So we have camaraderie groups, we have fellowship groups. I even do a guitar group on Thursdays. We had a guitar group earlier this afternoon, so we get to sit down and just, you know, have that camaraderie and over music, and we get to talk about our experiences in life, and we get to share a couple guitar riffs, which is fun, and we'll try to sing Johnny Cash songs and all this stuff. It's just a really good time. It's a good way to get veterans into the vet center. They may be thinking about counseling. They're not really sure about it. We'll say, okay, bud, come in and check out the group for a while, sit in on a camaraderie group, or we have a pool and billiards group, play some pool for a while, and they just kind of just seamlessly graduate into counseling. So it's like, yeah, we gotcha. And so that's what we do. This Saturday, if you're in town for the Bakersfield Veterans Day Parade, you're going to see that mobile unit asset out on the parade line. So we can do counseling out of that unit. Obviously, it's big, it's blue, it says Vet Center on the side. It's a big giant billboard. Like I said, we're a rally point. We're throwing up the flag, letting veterans know who we are and what we do. And that's pretty much my story, and I'm sticking to it here. Any questions?
So you are a truck driver? No.
Hey, oh yeah, oh gosh, I didn't think about that, yeah. A recreational vehicle driver. When they built that thing, they built it so a regular guy, I only have a Class C license. Typically something when you start getting up into higher weights, you have to have special licenses.
Yeah.
But this one was built specifically for a regular Class C driver, so very lucky that I don't have to go. I mean, I'll take the class if they want me to, but yeah, just a regular RV.
Nice.
Yeah. So, unless there's any questions, it was great to be up here in front of everybody, and I thank you for your support. I want to thank all the veterans out there that are in the crowd today. Thank you for your service. I mean, it's a truly honorable thing that you did, and we're just so proud of you.
That's okay. Okay. So I would like to introduce Ed Brewer with the Honor Flight group. My very basic understanding of the group is that they fly veterans to visit war memorials in Washington, D.C., disabled and other veterans. Ed was a member of the Honor Flight number 47 in October, and he is a Kern County veteran. He wants everybody to know that there is no charge for the flights to Washington, D.C. for the veterans, and they do not have to be disabled. They just simply had to have served in a war, from what I understand, and he'll go over the criteria. And this honor is available to all veterans the organization represents in all branches of the military. Without further ado, Ed Brewer with Honor Flight.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Ed Brewer. I was a veteran about 70 years ago, 1957 to 1963. Things have changed a lot since then, but being a veteran hasn't really changed. Anyway, I went into the Navy directly out of high school. I was an agriculture major. They don't have much agriculture in the Navy. So they arranged other chores for me. I went in as an aviation striker and went through a year of school before I ever went out to the fleet. During that time, I went through airman school in Norman, Oklahoma, and electronic school in Memphis, Tennessee. Then I went further east I'm a California boy. I went further east to Patuxent River Naval Air Test Center, Maryland. It's just south of Washington, D.C. There, I perfected the electronics schooling that they had given me, and I got more schooling there too. I flew as a crewman in an AD-5Q, which is a single engine prop plane. We'd fly in to Washington, D.C. Our objective was to see if we could get to Washington, D.C. without being detected on radar. If we could make it, then we'd get a portable radar station moved in to the route that we took. We flew about 9 feet above the ground, and sometimes we would make it, sometimes we wouldn't. But the jetliner that came into Washington, D.C., it flew in on commercial. There was no stopping it. It actually came right on the flight path to Reagan National Airport. That was a surprise to a lot of people. From the work that we did back then, I think Washington, D.C. is pretty damn secure. But I went on to become a aviation electronics technician, radar, communications, identification friend or foe, electronic countermeasures, and they transferred me to 4-engine Lockheed Super Constellation radar picket aircraft. They flew out of Patuxent River Naval Air Station to Argentia, Newfoundland. Don't try to find it on a map, it's not there anymore. But we flew from there over the Atlantic. As we flew out into the Atlantic, we were checked in by a little destroyer that sat there and waited for us. And we'd fly for 12 to 20 hours over the Atlantic Ocean. Yes, we had 2 crews on board. During those flights, I became an E5, which is about as high as you can get in 4 years. And we would watch the Russians, and the Russians would watch us. They looked for holes in our, what we called the barrier. The barrier was an extension of the dew line. The dew line went across the top of the United States, the top of Canada, and down into the Aleutian Islands that we call Alaska. We also had the same type of aircraft flying over the Aleutian Islands. At the end of my enlistment, I decided to go to college, which is something I hadn't considered before. So I went to college, Orange Coast College. One little side note, when I got there, my high school class president was still there. This is a 2-year college. I had been gone for 4. He was out smoking pot, sitting on the grass. Same place he was there, still there, when I graduated. As I graduated, I went into what was called the space race. I had been going to college under electronics and also going to the aeronautics, which is Ford Motor Company's gift to aerospace. I've got some of my work up on the moon. I've got 2 transmitters up there that were with Ranger 5 series space shots. And after having fun with aerospace, I joined up with another little organization called EG&G. EG&G had a U-2 spy plane, and they got me a lot of clearances. I don't remember all my clearances, but I had top secret on, I had just about everything imaginable. I was a courier, and I helped land the U-2s, and I would take the information that the U-2 had accumulated as it flew over wherever it flew, and get that to a little place called Cheyenne Mountain. Cheyenne Mountain was the headquarters of Strategic Air Command. While I was flying over the Atlantic in the Airborne Early Warning Squadron 15, we were also in contact with Cheyenne Mountain. I was a radio man, among other things, and we used Morse code. And we were in direct contact with Strategic Air Command. If a aircraft didn't squawk the right numbers, then all of a sudden it would have a couple of F-15s on its wingtips, telling it where to go and how to get there. And it would usually squawk the right numbers after that. Did I mention that EG&G is now in charge of a place called Area 51?
Oh.
Yeah. That kind of sums up a lot of my work. I also was a police officer for another 7.5 years. Then I came to Bakersfield.
Wow.
Back to agriculture. Back to my home. I spent 40 years working the oil fields, doing explosives work, and they finally retired me out. Whereupon I got with Honor Flight. Now, Honor Flight is a marvelous organization. It is supported by donations from the citizens of Kern County. I would highly recommend it to veterans to kind of get their heads straight. I know it helped me. And I would like to say thank you to Honor Flight. Thank you to the citizens of Kern County. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
Very welcome.
I just wanted to point out quickly that Honor Flight does have a website, so if you want to find out more about the work that they're doing, you can just do a quick Google search, and the Honor Flight website will come up. Let's see how the Wi-Fi is doing here. So the Honor Flight website, honorflight.org. And how many vets would you say have traveled back to DC with your organization?
Well, with the flight in October, there were 102 of us on board the chartered flight. There was no charge to any veteran that flew. They took you to each and every memorial, including Arlington Cemetery, the Marine Memorial, Navy Memorial, Air Force Memorial, Coast Guard, the Vietnam Wall, Korean Memorial. And got to meet up with my son, who is a colonel in the Army. He's a dean of students at the War College in Washington, D.C. He met the flight and came on board to guide us through Washington, D.C.
Great, that's my hometown. My stomping grounds. That's where I grew up. My dad was Air Force. He ran the rec program for the enlisted men at Bowling Air Force Base. We moved 13 times before I was 12. So our next speaker that I'm very, very excited to introduce is Sandy Jantz. She is the Deputy Executive Director representing Portrait of a Warrior Gallery, and they have very kindly set up this display here. They are located just a couple streets away here. I want to read her bio here. It says her oldest son graduated from West Point and was deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan. Youngest son also Army deployed to Iraq. And please thank them for their service. A little bit about Portrait of a Warrior Gallery. Their mission is to always remember and never forget the service and sacrifices of Kern County service members. So without further ado, Sandy Jantz.
Okay. My name is Sandy Jantz, and it is my absolute pleasure to volunteer at Portrait of a Warrior Gallery. And like Lynn said, what we do is that we honor the service of our veterans, and most especially it's a memorial art gallery. The portraits there are of servicemen from Kern County from post 9/11 to backwards to Vietnam. And those portraits are of servicemen and women who did not come home. And because my boys came home, I feel that I found a home there at the gallery, so that because of my good fortune to have my sons come back, that I can give a little something to those Gold Star families that their children did not come home. And I walked in there one day about 26 months ago, and I had been working out of the area, out of the county, living with my sister in Bakersfield, and you know, there was COVID going on, and so you just didn't go anywhere, do anything, and the gallery was open. So we went down to the gallery, and I was so impressed. I wanted to be a part of this incredible organization. And the next day they were open, I was there, and I've been there ever since. And we all get paid zero. We've got that decimal there, and we can put zeros on this side or on this side, but we all have that zero in common. And we're happy for that, because the people who walk through the door, we don't know if they're a veteran. If they're in civilian clothes, we have no idea. We don't know if they've recently lost someone. We are losing lots and lots of World War II veterans. We're losing lots and lots of Vietnam era veterans, and even Gulf War. And unfortunately, Iraq and Afghanistan, too many of those, as Benny well knows, we're losing them to depression and suicide. So that is one of our other missions, is to have a safe haven. It's a neutral place down there. You can come and have coffee anytime that we're open. And we've got a couple of PTSD groups that meet. There is the Rat Pack, which is very famous here in Kern County, and they're pretty strong. There's, they will say, I had a rough week. I was triggered by something. And then everybody just sort of is there. One of the greatest things about the military in the United States is the brotherhood that you guys have talked about, all three of you. It exists there, and I think that that is maybe one of the components that when you come home, that veterans don't find anymore. Is they're like, oh my gosh, I've got my wife, I've got the kids, I've got a job, but where's my brotherhood? Where's my buddy in arms? Who's got my back? And so at the gallery, you want to come down? We're there. It's a place to pay respect to those who have given everything. But it's also a place where you can just talk to someone who cares about veterans. And there is just honor and respect on every wall there. It's a small place, but it's packed. And the people who volunteer there, they are givers as well. They want to serve their community, and this is the way they can do it. Most of them are veterans, but there are a few of us that are not. As Lynn said, I had 2 boys that joined the military. I did not, but I got to view the military as a mother. And there were challenges, but there's a challenge in almost any walk of life. You're going to have those things, but it's telling yourself that you can put one step forward and then you can do the next step. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about giving tours to students, which are generally from 8th grade and up, so that they're at a maturity level that they can handle what is predominantly in the gallery. And so there is a lot of death, but there is respect. If you look at all of these portraits of the post 9/11 veterans that are here, they are not just a soldier in a uniform. They have their lifestyle portraits. The artists, there were 4 of them that did these, 3 of them that did these portraits. And they listened to the Gold Star families. They listened to their stories, they looked at their photographs, and then they created a story on a canvas so that people coming in there could get to know what there was something about their personality. And we never know when somebody comes in what's going to click for them. But I guarantee you that somebody is going to find a warrior, a fallen warrior that they can connect with. And so we have pictures there, but we also then have a bio board so that you can, if you want to, go through the gallery by yourself, you can just read something about these warriors, and then you can go, oh, yeah. I had someone that came in on First Friday, and it was one of the soldiers, it was their son's birthday. And they were like, oh my goodness, we've got that in common. On that same soldier, it was their mother's birthday, I believe it was. And so it was just like, oh my gosh, there's this one soldier who they were just walking by, and then they went, oh, wait a minute. We don't know what it's going to be, but these are all of Kern County's good young men. The 27 are all men. And art is an amazing thing, as you all have attested. You can just reach out to somebody's heart that way, and it can say something that nothing else can. And it can open up your eyes as well as your heart. We're just really, really fortunate at Portrait of a Warrior Gallery. We also get to work with our Gold Star families. Now, Gold Star family is someone who is a family member, immediate family member of someone who was killed in action or died from their wounds, wartime. And they have small requests that they make of us. And we do our best to try and accommodate them. Some of these soldiers are buried in Arlington. Their mothers, their sons, their daughters, their fathers, their siblings cannot go to their gravesite and visit them, but they can come to the gallery. And we will open those doors to them. If we can make it happen, if they call at 2 o'clock in the morning, we're gonna go down there and we're gonna be there for them, because that's what they need and that's our mission. It's to always remember and never forget, but it's also to help those Gold Star family members. And beyond the post 9/11, which is how we were designed to be, that was all we were gonna be until our landlord and owner of the building came down, saw what we were doing, what we were trying to do, what we wanted to accomplish, and he decided to double the size of the gallery. He gave us twice as much space. And so that left us with, oh my gosh, what do we do? And so now we honor Vietnam veterans. We've got 2 rooms, a memorabilia room, where Vietnam veterans have donated objects from their service, photographs, pictures, helmets, knives, their uniforms, books, all kinds of things that we have down there that were donated by our Vietnam veterans or families of our Vietnam veterans. And then we also have a memorial room. And in that room are 178 Kern County soldiers that did not come home. And Kern County is just such a special place. And you can see that when somebody comes in and they're like, he was my neighbor. That's my friend's uncle. That's my friend's grandfather. We had a young lady on a tour from Stockdale High School. She was a cheerleader. And she's in the memorial room. She just keeps turning around. And she starts using her phone and she's taking a picture. And we go, is that somebody that you know? She says, that's my great-grandfather. she said, and we said, are you sure that's your great-grandfather? Oh yeah, there aren't very many pictures of him because he died while my grandmother was pregnant with my great-grandmother was pregnant with my grandfather. She was 5 months pregnant. So this is one of the only pictures that we have of him as an adult. And so the connections are just amazing. And we want all of Kern County and anybody who's coming to Bakersfield to please come down to the gallery and find out what a special place this is, and to learn why Kern County is so amazing. It's because we have such a wonderful spirit of people. They've been instilled with character and integrity and wanting to serve their neighbors. And we've got all of these veterans here, and that's what they have done with their life. They continue to do with their life. It doesn't stop when you take the uniform off. It's in your heart, and it's just a blessing to be able to work with all of you, do whatever we can, and to just respect and honor your service. And we're just glad to be there. Hope you can come down 1925 I Street on the southwest corner on 20th and I Street. Thank you.
Please thank Sandy for the beautiful display that she set up here. It really added to the thank you so much for your work and your work with the gallery. I do want to add that there is a resources link here on the website, and that's where I pulled all the resources that you see printed, and I gave you credit on the bottom, but it's very extensive. I won't be able to scroll down, but everything that you see printed on that sheet. There are also veterans resources books out on the table outside, which are also quite extensive, and they expand to federal, state, and other services, not necessarily as local as this list. Well, that wraps up the program. A big thank you to our surprise guests and speakers today, and our scheduled speakers. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all, and good night.